In this video, we'll be testing the Big Agnes Bunk House 6-person tent for how easily it sets up and packs away, its spaciousness and livable space, storage options, rain protection, and much, much more. Out of the box, this is what I got: the tent body, the Rainfly where all 8 guidelines are pre-attached to, the carry bag that everything came in, some instructions for setting up the tent, 2 tent poles. On the longer pole I found a pole repair splint as well, and I also got 10 stakes. Now this is not the setup video, which is a separate video. This is just a very quick summary of the setup in case you want to know how it works. First, grab the pole set with more pole segments. This is the main tent pole. It's a hub pole with 4 ends, which are to be secured into the 4 corner grommets of the tent. It's also color-coded orange for the front and white for the back. Now, this main tent pole also has a pre-attached ridge pole at the top, and we're supposed to secure the 3 pole clips at the top to this pole. There's another 12 clips around the tent, followed by the ball cap above each door, which is to be secured to the ends of the ridge pole. After that, pull the Rainfly over the tent, and to secure it, there are 2 black pole pockets for the 2 ball caps as well, 8 Velcro wraps around the tent, plus 4 color-coded buckles for the 4 corners. Next, grab the vestibule pole, sleeve it at the front of the tent, secure the 2 ends, and clip on the final 2 pole clips. Finally, stake down the back and front vestibules, and then guy out the 8 guy lines. I was missing 6 stakes in total, so remember to get some extra stakes, and that's your tent fully set up. Altogether, this entire setup took me about 18 minutes. As for the pack away, it took me about 13 minutes to get the tent down and back into the bag. I really liked the oversized bag, which made it easy to do so. As I mentioned previously, for more details, I have a separate video with loads of instructions and tips to help you set up and pack away your tent much more easily. Moving away from our ease of setup and pack away tests, we're going to talk about spaciousness next, starting with the peak height of the tent. At the center, we have a peak height of 77¼ inch. And since I'm quite short at only about 5'3", this was more than enough space for me to stand upright, even with mattresses or pads inside the tent. For livable space, this tent is marketed to have a high volume architecture. So is this really true? To test this, I measured the standing heights throughout this tent, starting with 3 feet away from the peak height along the length. The height here came in at about 70½ inches, which was still more than enough for me. 4½ feet away, so at the very end of the tent, right up to the door, we have a height of 63½ inches. So basically, this tent has an extended peak height throughout the entire length of the tent, which felt really roomy. And you get vertical walls at the front and back too. As for the width of the tent, about 2 feet away from the peak height, the height here came in at about 61½ inches, and this is where my head touches the top of the tent. Overall, here's how much I could walk around the entire tent, which I really liked. The reason this tent has so much livable space is because of the hub pole that I talked about in the setup test. It comes with 4 ends to be secured into the 4 corners of the tent, which gives you 2 vertical walls at the front and the back. This pole set also comes with a ridge pole at the top, which gives you the extended peak height throughout the length. For the base area, I first measured the length from the front to the back of the tent, and that came in at about 116½ inches. Next, I measured the width from side to side, and that came in at almost 100 inches. Overall, that's a total base area of 80½ square feet. To test for single pad sizing, I inflated a few pads, and here's what it looks like, plus the sizing of each pad or double pad. Basically, if you don't mind it being crammed, you can fit a max of 6 people into this tent in this configuration across the length of the tent, but it's pretty much shoulder to shoulder. It's a very tight fit though, and when I pushed all the pads to the side and measured the leftover space, there was only 6 extra inches left on the length. And there's just 2 feet left over for some gear on the width. But at least with there being lots of livable space in this tent, you don't feel too crammed even when sleeping at the sides. If you don't want to sleep like sardines, here's roughly what the tent looks like with 2 queens or 4 people instead, which also gives you slightly more headroom when you're lounging in the tent. Take note that the length of the tent is slightly smaller than 2 actual queens, so that's why my beds fit perfectly. 2 actual queens of 80 by 60 inches will make the beds bulge out of the tent a bit. And for the leftover space, that came in at just 22 inches at the width. Moving away from the inner tent, now we're going to see how spacious the outer tent is as well, starting with the 2 vestibules, the back and the front. These are the dimensions of the front vestibule. The shorter length at the front is about 66 inches. The longer length is the same as the width of the tent, 99.5 inches. And the width of the vestibule is 63.5 inches. That's a total vestibule area of 36.5 square feet. On top of that, this front vestibule also has a bit of standing room. The front of the vestibule measures 57.75 inches from the ground up. As for the innermost part of the vestibule, next to the door, that measures 67.5 inches from the ground up. I couldn't stand near the front because it was a bit shorter than me, but inside the vestibule was good enough for my height, even with a few inches of leftover room too. As for the sizing, here's what the front vestibule could fit. Here are 2 Halonox chairs plus a Halonox table, and they fit perfectly inside the vestibule without feeling too cramped. Even when the vestibule is fully closed, I could still sit inside with lots of leftover space and livable room, which was nice because you cannot do this with many other tents. Another reason I like this tent was for all the configurations of the front vestibule. First, the ends of this vestibule have 2 loops each, and if you stake down the inner loops that are attached to the middle fabric, you'd be able to open both sides and tie them back with toggles. Or if you stick down the outer loops instead, you can unzip the middle portion and bunch up the fabric at the top of the tent with these 2 toggles instead. Also, you can unstake the entire vestibule and tie everything away, which gives you a neat little awning with a bit of shade, so that was awesome too. It's possible to have this awning and walkable space under the vestibule because of the vestibule pole we set up earlier in the first setup test. As for the vestibule zippers, there are 2 zipper tracks on the front vestibule with 2 zippers for each track. All these zippers are YKK and they're snag free, provided you use a two-handed zip, especially for zipping it up. As for the back vestibule, there's only one zipper track with the same two YKK zippers. This back vestibule is quite a bit smaller, and here are the dimensions. Outer length is the same as the front vestibule, 66 inches. The inner length is the same as the wall, 99.5 inches. But the width of the back vestibule is much shorter at 34 inches instead. That's a total vestibule area of just 19.5 square feet, which is only about half the size of the front vestibule. The back vestibule also has standing height of about 67 inches, but only next to the tent door, and you can't really move or walk around. As for the sizing of this vestibule, you'll see what it's like with the same gear as well. It's not too bad when the vestibule is open, but when it's closed, there's no livable space for lounging around. As for configurations, this back vestibule also has the same double loop the front vestibule had, but only on this side. If you stick down the outer loop, you can open the left of the vestibule and tie the fabric back with the left toggle. If you stick down the inner loop, you can open the right. You can also undo the entire vestibule and tie both sides up. Because there's no vestibule pole here, unlike the front vestibule, there's also no shade, and you get only the end of the ridge pole at the top. Moving on to other features, under both vestibules, you'll find the two doors of the tent. To keep each door open, you can just unzip it, bunch up the fabric, and tie it back using the toggle by the side. If you don't want to use the toggles, you can just tuck the fabric into the door keeper by the side, which I thought was quite handy to have. This takes only 3 seconds to do, while the door toggle near the bottom takes close to 10 seconds instead. When open, each door measures 57 inches in widest width and about 64.5 inches from the ground to the top of the door. Overall, definitely not the biggest door I've seen, and because the top is so narrow as well, I had to duck when getting in and out of the tent. This door has two separate zipper tracks, one from the top down, the other from the right to the left, and there's one zipper for each track. Both of these are YKK zippers, and they were also completely snag-free. Another feature this tent has are two windows located on the two doors. To keep each of them open, there's a single toggle at the bottom for bunching up the fabric. The dimensions of each window come in at 63 inches in length by 22 inches in width. The holes of the mesh are quite tiny, possibly no-seam mesh. And each window has two zipper tracks with one zipper on each track, totally snag-free, and they're both YKK too. As for storage, this tent has 8 pockets on this wall, another 8 pockets on this wall, for a total of 16 pockets. Each of the rectangle pockets come in at 15 by 11 inches, which is pretty big. Each of the triangle pockets here are double pockets, measuring 17 by 18 inches for the bigger one, but the smaller one isn't very big. The pockets at the top measure 15 by 12 inches, also a triangle shape, so they don't fit as much as the rectangle pockets. As for loops, these are all closed felt loops, and there are 8 on each front and back wall of the tent. There's also another one at the top center of the tent, so altogether we have 17 loops. As for seam taping, I checked the 2 seams running across the floor and it was taped. I also checked the floor edge and corner seams, taped too. The taping extends up only a few inches and stops there. Everything else was not taped. And all the seams on the Rainfly were also perfectly taped. Speaking of the Rainfly, this is a full-length fly, which extends almost all the way down to the ground. I also like that apart from the vestibules at the widths, the lengths of the tent also have a guy line that allows me to pull the fly away from the tent body for better ventilation and rain protection. Now, to test for all the waterproofing features, I put this Big Agnes tent through more than 1 hour of heavy rain. After the heavy rain stopped, I checked in on the tent and here are the results. First, I checked the flooring and found that it was dry. Next, I checked the corner seams and found that they did not leak as well. I also checked the floor edges, no leaks too. After that, I checked the Rainfly from the inside and found that it was dry as well. I then lifted the Rainfly from the outside and found that the rain barely even splashed on the tent body at all, so that's why the tent walls were completely dry from the inside. Overall, this tent did really well in the heavy rain. As for materials, the flooring is made of 75 denier polyester taffeta with a 1500mm waterproof coating. The Rainfly is made of the same material, 75 denier polyester taffeta as well, also with a 1500mm coating. The tent body is 75 denier polyester, no coating. As for the mesh on the tent, that is 40 denier nylon mesh. The poles are made of DAC aluminum, and you can find most of the above info on the tags that came with this tent. The guidelines are regular shot cord with a tensioner for adjusting the length. I liked that some of them are forked for added stability, and the guy out points are slightly reflective. The stakes are proprietary, Big Agnes almost Y-shaped stakes, and stitching is good all around the tent. Here's some additional info. It's made mostly in China, but sewn in Vietnam. The entire tent is also PFAS free. Now, if you remove the Rainfly on hot days, here's what the inner tent looks like. This tent has mesh that is yellow in color, so not exactly the best for views, but the entire top of the tent is covered in mesh for ventilation. Overall though, there's not a whole lot of mesh on this tent, with just a bit on the widths and less than half on the lengths. Now, the pack dimensions come in at 27 inches in length by 16.25 inch in width and 9 inches in height from the side. Here's what it looks like beside a 2-person Coleman sundown tent and a 1-liter Nalgene bottle. I really liked the carry bag because of how easy it was to carry. First, there's a handle by the side for you to easily pick it up. Next, this bag also comes with backpack straps, which are fully adjustable using these buckles on each strap. And just like a backpack, you even get another handle at the top too. And the weight of everything came in at 18.6 pounds. Over the past few years, I've tested quite a few 6-person tents. Now, here are some of the more popular ones I've tested. These are the Nemo Aurora High-Rise 6, the REI Basecamp 6, the REI Wonderland 6, and the North Face Wawona 6. As you can see here, all these tents come in at between the $500 to $600 range. These are the latest MSRPs without any sale discounts. However, the Big Agnes Bunk House comes in at the $700 range, so I think it's interesting to find out if it's really worth the price increase. To test for this, for the rest of the pros and cons, I will be comparing the bunk house by taking all the data you just saw in the testing of this video and comparing it to the average of all the other tents here, so we can find out the actual pros and cons of this tent. So here's what you'll find out. The first test you saw in this review was the setup test, and the bunk house took slightly longer than the average tent. The setup could have been faster by 1 to 2 minutes if the hub pole didn't always pop out of the grommets when I tried to put them up. It was a bit annoying, but overall not a deal breaker. If you found this review helpful so far, please help me hit that like button. Thank you so much, and I really appreciate it. As for the pack away, I had no issues, so it was quicker than average. Moving on to our spaciousness tests, I first looked at the peak height and found that it was almost exactly the average height of all the tents here. However, most tents do not have an extended peak height like the bunk house, and that is our first pro as well. Remember that for this tent, you can easily walk across the entire length of the tent, no problem at all, and even towards the widths by a few feet. However, for most other tents, you do not get so much of an extended height. The only other tent that can do this is the REI Wonderland, which has almost the exact same shape as the bunk house. On top of that, the bunk house also has more vertical walls than the average tent. The base camp doesn't have any vertical walls. The Wawona has only one at the front wall, and only the Wonderland and the Nemo Aurora have two, and the Nemo's vertical walls are actually slightly less tall. As for the inner base area, that was about the same across all the 5 tents here. But when it comes to the vestibule area, the bunk house has quite a big front vestibule, giving you about 5 square feet more than the average tent. On top of that, you can even stand up inside the vestibule of the bunk house, or at least I can because I'm pretty short and the height near the door is actually about 67.5 inches. Almost none of the other tents here have this sort of standing height. The only one is the Wawona with a height near the door of 74 inches, and the end of the vestibule came in at a whopping 65 inches still, so bigger than the bunk house all around. The total base area is just adding up the inner tent and vestibule, which is slightly bigger for the bunk house. All the tents here have 2 doors, but not all of them have doors that you can just walk through without ducking. I do wish the doors could be bigger. It's quite narrow at the top, so I had to duck through the door and then bend down again to duck through the vestibule pole. And because the front of the vestibule measures only about 58 inches, so I've actually hit my head on the pole a few times. I also do wish this tent had more mesh and more vents for rainy day and sunny day ventilation. When it comes to storage, the bunk house has quite a few storage options, but as you might have seen in the storage test, the pockets are not very big. When it comes to quality, the zippers are top of the line YKK, which not all tents have, but the flooring is half as thick, 75 denier polyester, so I'd recommend buying a cheap tarp to put underneath. The tent body and Rainfly are average, but at least the poles are the best quality poles using lightweight DAC aluminum. Most of these tents were able to survive 1 to 2 hours of heavy rain with no problem, but most tents here do not have a full fly. Only the bunk house and the base camp had full flies. As for the number of guidelines, it was average, but I liked the fork guidelines on the 4 widths of the tent, which gives it more stability in the wind as well. Overall, we looked at a total of 20 tests, and the bunkhouse did better than average for 11 of them, and worse than average for only 4 of them. I also think that the cons are pretty much relatively small, and the pros are quite big. So if you're looking for a spacious cabin tent, which has a spacious enough vestibule as well, this tent is probably one of the best picks out there because none of the other tents we saw here have both of these qualities. On top of that, this tent is also one of the few cabin tents that can take rain and wind very well thanks to the Fort guidelines and the full fly. If you're interested to check out more details on how I tested and compared each tent, you can check out this video on screen where I compared the bunkhouse to many other best camping tents out there. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in that one.